So Bucky Brooks, Daniel Jeremiah from NFL Network on who they think the Browns should take at number 6.
With the Cleveland Browns, we have Todd Monken coming over. We got to deal with this offense. We got to deal with this AFC North that is in transition. But you can't do anything if you don't have an offensive line. And so you took me, I would go with the third pick with the Arizona Cardinals. I'm going to take Spencer Fano with the 6 picks for the Cleveland Browns. And I know everyone is like, hey, we got to get a playmaker and all that. But there's no need in having a playmaker if the quarterback isn't protected. So we got to make sure that we get some protection. We have to be able to run the football because in spite of all the things that people talk about Todd Monken, he wants to run the ball. He wants to be balanced enough to be able to get it done. So give me a big body up front. I think that's the only way that the Browns can go.
Yeah, that's where I had him taken in this latest mock draft as well. I actually had him doubling up on tackles, and I won't tell you who it was, but I'm taking another tackle as well. They got all five starters are free agents. They need to replace the whole offensive line. Now, DeJuan Jones is big, talented tackle and who's, hasn't been able to stay healthy. If somehow he's out there and you believe in him, you could always kick one of the 2 tackles they would have taken my mock draft into guard for a year or 2 if you needed to. But to me, I think the offensive line has to be where they go. I'd be nervous about them just hoping that both those top 2 tackles are, one of them falls to you. It's a nightmare scenario for them if they don't get one of the top 2 tackles.
Yeah, Tom, I can't argue with any of that. And I'm get me a playmaker guy, but if both of those big tackles are off the board, that's going to be a real challenge for the Browns.
Yeah, it sounds like they were stealing some of my material, by the way. I mentioned that before, is that this has all got to begin up front. And again, whether they do it in free agency or not, we all know the situation on the offensive line. So, they did mention DeJuan Jones, and I'm not giving up on him, Dave. So, I still think there's a potential for him, whether it's at left tackle or at right tackle, to be your starter. And as those guys mentioned, because you have so many needs, maybe you're then able to get that other tackle at the number 6 pick, and then you can start worrying about wide receiver or whatever else with that second pick. I could also see a scenario that they mentioned is to see them taking 2 offensive linemen in the first round, and then maybe you go out with whatever the wide receiver group is going to be in free agency. We don't know exactly yet, only because guys can sign and there's some other things that could happen. But that's another possibility. But listen, I think we all are very aware of the needs on the offensive side of the ball, right? It begins at quarterback, and then secondary to that, it's got to be the offensive line, and then wide receiver after that. I know there's a bunch of Browns fans and Ohio State fans here that would love to see Carnell Tate taken with the number 6 pick overall. I think that's still in play. And listen, Andrew Berry has shown already that, he's willing to be a playmaker himself in that first round of the draft. So, if the Browns have a player that they really fall in love with, and maybe it's one of those 2 tackles, who knows? They may move up. We saw it last year. I mean, they made the big, move for the future with Jacksonville to get that trade, and then ended up to make that trade, and then ended up taking Mason Graham, who nobody had, going to the Browns at number 5. So I think a lot of things are still in play. I think we'll get a lot better sense of what the Browns' plans are in the draft once we get through the free agency period.
Yeah, for people that are like me that want a wide receiver, just keep in mind Andrew Berry hasn't taken a wide receiver in the first or second round. He's traded for guys that he views as that kind of talent, but third round is the earliest he's taken a wide receiver.
Yeah, I think that mentality is going to have to change, and I think Todd Monken will have a lot to do, Dave, with that mentality changing because, as I mentioned before, he knows what a good quarterback looks like, and you show me a good quarterback, and I'll show you good wide receivers and running backs and guys that block for them. So I think, I think Barry's going to have to, really, for him not to take a wide receiver or a playmaker in the first couple rounds this year would make no sense to me whatsoever because that is what your greatest needs are. It starts with the offensive line, and then wide receiver would be secondary to that.